Right now is very important part about iRetouch, because I'm going to show you a really fantastic method, which I'm going to make as an action for you for this course, so you can download this part as well. You can download the things I'm going to show you how to make in this lesson. But even though I would like you to stay with me in this lesson, even if it's an action, so you'll understand how it's created and which opportunities it gives you with iRetouch. So let's talk a little bit at first, as usual, and zoom this into the eye area, because I want to show you a few things. What we have to do about iRetouch, we don't want to change the color inside really, but we want to remove a little bit of these veins. So we have to do something to remove these veins, but how to do this in non-destructive way? Of course, we could use the regular retouching tools. Many people do this, but there is a few simple ways, and the point about this course is about to simplify your workflow. So first of all, we're going to take care about this. We have to brighten up the area inside. Sometimes maybe you want to darken this area over here. Maybe you want to brighten then eyeball, add contour, and also we can add or change the color of the eye. So all of these things I'm going to show you right now. Let's start from the whitening of this, not whitening, but retouching this area. How I'm going to do this? I'm going to do all of this at once, and in the next lesson we're going to do this in practice. So first of all, I need to duplicate this layer. I'm going to call this blur, and as the name says, let's go to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. Of course, it depends on the fact how big your image is, so then you can know how much of the blur you need, but go to the point that you're actually going to blur out some of the veins which exist inside, but still keep some of the natural colors. If you see, if I go to this level, I still can see the veins inside, so it's not that destructive. So I'm going into this level, but also I need to do something with the colors. So I'm going to solid color, and I'm going to choose color white and change opacity into really, really low. You think about 12% in this case will be totally alright. You can see how that works with the color, but the difference is too low. So I'm going to keep blend mode as a normal, and as you can see, these two layers I'm going to put into the group, and I'm going to call this retouch veins. And you can see what's the difference. So what we have to do, we have to create layer mask and invert layer mask over here. So later when we're going to paint on it, we're going to retouch this area. So that's the first step. Now is the time for the next step, and if you want to darken this, I'm just going to create black layer and invert this, and I'm going to call this as a black. The next super important step is, of course, eye brightening. And how to do this really nicely, I usually use curves if I want to brighten up something, and I use curves if I want to darken up something. So I'm going to curves and just pull up the curve to the level you are happy. Of course, you have to keep some control. As I give you this in the action, you can change this anytime, so that's a great thing about the curve, because if you feel later on it's not enough, you can change it. If it will be too much, you can change it as well, so that's a great thing about curves. Of course, you could use levels in this case and few other adjustment layers, but curve just look really great for it. I'm going to invert this, and I'm going to call this brightening. And the next step will be, we can optional, like as an optional tool, use brightening of this eyeball. So once again, actually I can duplicate this layer, Control Command J, and it will be brightening eyeball. However, the curve might be a bit too strong for it, so I'm just going to pull down the curve. It's going to give you even more control for it. I don't want you to do mistakes, and even though you can change opacity anytime. So once again, I'm going to invert this layer. And what's the next step? Another thing which will be considered as optional is the contours over here. This model has really nice contours, however not all of the models has this contour, so if you'd like to add some contours to the eye, you can do this very easily by using curve layer, pulling this down just a little bit to darken up this area. I'm going to call this contour iris contour. And invert this once again. And the last thing I'm going to show you is changing the color of the eyeball. And what I use I use just a hue saturation and colorize. The saturation might be a bit too strong, so I'm going to go a bit lower for it, but you can change saturation anytime you want. And of course, we will be able to choose any color we want. But this thing we will sort out a bit later when we will be retouching. So at the end, the point is you have to open this adjustment layer and you have to find the color which is suitable for the eye. But for now, of course, I'm going to invert this. And I'm going to call this iris color. And all of these layers I created right now, I'm going to put into one group. So that was kind of introduction that I wanted to show you how we're going to work with this. And it's a really great way to create all of the layers at first, or just let the action go, which I'm going to give you, as I said. And then we can do all of the work, which will be very simplified, and you're going to see this in the next lesson. Control Command G. And I retouch. So see you soon in the next lesson.